Morning everybody, welcome to Thursday's Maths. We're going to start off with our Fab 4 and we're going to recap what we learnt yesterday in our Power Maths lesson, calculating percentages. So I'd like you to have a go at finding 10% of these numbers, and then on the second question, you're going to be having a go at 20%. So pause the video, give yourself a maximum of 4 minutes, and then come back for the answers. Okay, so hopefully you remembered from yesterday that if you are looking for 10%, you have to simply take your whole number and divide it by 10. So for question 1, 10% we would work out by just doing 300 divided by 10. Now that's everything moving one space smaller, so we would get an answer of 30. Now when we wanted to do 20%, let's remind ourselves the relationship between 10 and 20 is that it is doubled. So if I've got 10% 300, then I know to find 20%, all I need to do is to double my answer. So I'd get an answer of 60. So exactly the same, 10% of 35, we would divide 35 by 10, which would give us 3.5. And for 20%, I need to double that answer to give me 7. Okay, hope you've remembered all of that. Now for our lesson today, we're going to be calculating percentages of amounts again, but this time we're going to learn how to calculate 1% of amount. And we're going to then use this to help us calculate other percentages like 2%, 3%, 4%, and then we're going to have a go at some word problems involving these. So for our Discover today, here we go, we've got a boy in a shop, and you can see at the shop, in the back of the shop, that there's different boxes containing bars of chocolates. Now inside each of those boxes, it says at the top here, the information that we've got is that 1% of the chocolate bars in each of the box have a winning rainbow ticket. So in this box of 500 bars, 1% of the chocolate bars in there will have a winning ticket, and that's the same for each of those boxes. So our first thought is then, because it's going to ask us how many winning tickets are there in each of those boxes. So we've got to now think to ourselves, well, how am I going to calculate 1% of each of those boxes? So let's break it down a little bit. Here is the first box, which has 500 bars in it. Now, the first important piece of information that I tell you for today is that 1% is the same as 1 out of every 100. Okay, so that's quite an important piece of information to remember. Now, thinking about that, if we have got 500 bars, that means for every 100, that's 1 bar of chocolate that will have the ticket. So you can see here that we've got 100 here. These are all the grids showing the amount. This one's got 100. This is another 100, this is another 100, and so on. And we've put 5 up here because we've got 500 bars of chocolate in this box. Now we've just found out that 1% is the same as 1 in every 100. So for each 100 squares, we've shaded in 1. So that's the same as 1%. So 1% of 500, we then just need to add up all those individual squares, which will give us a total of 5. Now, there is a better way, I think, of calculating this, because it says down here at the bottom, I found 1 out of every 100. But a quicker way is that if you can divide the whole number just by 100. So in this case, our whole number that we've got in the box is here, it's 500. And if we divide that by 100, that's going to tell us 1/100th of the amount, which is the same as 1%. So if I want to calculate 1% of 500, all that I need to do is do 500 divided by 100, and that will give me an answer of 5. So I know that in this box here that contains 500 bars, 5 of those bars of chocolate will contain a winning ticket. So that's the important part I want you to remember for today, is that if you're calculating 1%, you divide your whole number by 100. Now, some people will say, well, why don't I just divide it by 1? Because when I divide find 10%, I divide it by 10. It's a good question. But because it's 1%, it's 1 out of every 100. So you've actually got to find 1/100th, and to find 1/100th, we're dividing by 100. When we found 10%, that was the same as 10 out of every 100, which was the same as 1/10. And we know that then when we're doing this, we're dividing by the denominator of our fraction. So for 1%, we divide by 100. For 10%, we're dividing by 10. Okay, so let's have a look at the other boxes of chocolate now. So 200 bars, how are we going to calculate 1%? Well, to do 1%, we remember we divide our whole number by 100. So 200 divided by 100. We can use, if we need to, our hundreds, tens, ones place value chart, and we can pop our 200 in here. And we know if we're dividing by 100, everything is moving 2 places smaller. So our 2 in the hundreds is actually jumping into the ones column. So 200 divided by 100 is 2. So 1% would be 2 chocolate bars. Now, maybe you should have a go here. If you want to pause the video, try and work out 1% of 1,000 bars and a 1% of 2,500, and then come back and I can show you the answers. All right, so for 1,000 bars, we're going to do the same again. So we need to work out 1%. So we do 1,000 divided by 100, which would give us an answer of 10 chocolate bars. 2,500 divided by 100. Again, everything's going to be jumping 2 places smaller, and we would get an answer of 25 chocolate bars. So you can see in each box there are different numbers of bars which have that magic ticket inside. Here is a little table as well to just show us our different answers. So we can see that for 200, 1% was 2, for 1,000, 1% was 10, and 2,500, 1% is 25. So our answers are correct. Now for our Think Together, we've got some other boxes here containing chocolate bars. And this time it's telling us that 4% of the chocolate bars in each box have a silver ticket. Now here I want you to think carefully about how you can use the knowledge of understanding how to work out 1% to calculate other numbers which go up in ones. So in this case, we, little bit like when we did yesterday, we worked out 20%, that we said we always need to work out 10% first. So now if we are trying to work out 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, and so on, if you calculate 1% first, you can always get to those other numbers. So here, for 300 bars, we've got to first of all work out 1%. So you can see in this table, 300 bars, 1% of the amount is 3. Now, if I now want to know what 4% is, let's have a little look over here at the relationship between those two that we have got. So 1%, we've said, sorry, it's a bit of a wiggly 3, is 3 bars of chocolate. Now, but we want to know what 4% is. Now, if you look from here to here, what have I multiplied 1 by to get to 4? Well, I've times it by 4, haven't I? So in order to find out 4%, I just need to multiply my answer for 1% also by 4. So 3 times 4 would give us an answer of 12. So 4% of the chocolate bars in the 300 bar box would be 12 bars of chocolate. Now let's have a go then at the other one. So this is the one we've just completed. We've just said in a box of 300 bars, how did we work out 1%? Well, we thought, right, we did 300 divided by 100, which gave us 3. And then we took that 3 because we're working out 4% and we times it by 4 to give us an answer of 12. Now, can you do the same for these next two? Pause the video and work out 1% and then 4% of 500 and 1,500. Okay, so for 1% of 500, you should have got 5. And then for 4%, you needed to times that by 4, which gave us an answer of 20. 1% of 1,500 should give us an answer of 15. And timesing that by 4 would give us an answer of 60. Now remember, if you're a bit unsure how to multiply by 4, you can always use a column written method to make sure that your answers are accurate. Okay, so there is my calculation of 15 times 4. Now you have some of these in your books where it's completing the percentages. Now this one is working through, and it's really going to challenge your brain because it's changing the different numbers of percentages it's asking as it's going down. So it's telling you at the beginning what value the total amount for 100% is. So for part A, it's saying 100% is 150 centimetres. So it's then saying, so what is 10%? So 10% we calculated by doing our total amount and we divided by 10. So that would give us an answer of 15. Now 1%, we would go back to our original value, our whole number, the 100% amount, and we would divide this time by 100, and that would give us an answer of 1.5. Remembering, like we looked a little earlier, that if you are a bit unsure dividing by 100, to use your place value grid like here, and you can put your digits in the right places. So for 150, if you're dividing by 100, everything's jumping 2 places smaller. So your 1 is going to go 1, 2 and end up in the ones. Your 5 is going to go 1, 2 around the decimal point to give you an answer of 1.5. So this is really important when we're dividing by 100. Now this next part is saying 2%. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to use our knowledge of 1% to help us here. So I'm going to think, right, what is the relationship between 1 and 2? Well, to get from 1 to 2, I need to times by 2. So I've got to multiply my answer by 2 to calculate 2%. So it says here 2% is 1.5, because that's from my 1%, times by 2, which would give me an answer of 3 centimetres. Okay, so for this second one now, 100% this time is 24 metres. So 10% is going to be 24 divided by 10, which would give us 2.4 metres. Now for 1%, remember, we divide by 100. So I go back to my original starting value of 24, divide that by 100, which would give me 0.24 metres. Now, to get from 3 to 3%, I'm going to use this to help me, because from 1% to 3%, I times it by 3. So 3% is the same. I've got to take the answer from 1%, which is here, and write it in my box. So 3%, oh, sorry, I've written that wrong. That should be a 4, is 0.24 times by 3. Now, you might find yourself thinking, oh, I can't do that in my head. Some of you might be able to, but if not, here's a good method. You can put it into a written method. So 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6, and I've got to add one more, which gives me 7, and then I'm going to put my decimal point in. A little tip, some of you have been answering questions like this and just leaving it like that, 0.72. Please remember to put a placeholder of a 0 in your ones if there is nothing in there. Okay, so our final answer here would be 0.72. Okay, so today's work then, you are going to be working on part 3 of percentages, which is on pages 41 to 43. I'm going to be sending in your dojo message on your portfolio, telling you if you were in my group for maths, which questions I really want you to focus on. But obviously, if you're really happy and you want to do the whole thing, that's absolutely fine. Any questions, get in touch. The challenge is here if you would like to do some more once you've finished your books, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, well done everybody. Bye-bye.